Yes, the fierce truth seeker of the Red Road East. The Red Road East is an indigenous TV program dedicated to archiving and preserving the history, legacy, and culture of the original peoples of the East Coast and the Caribbean. Okay, and we are here again with Moors and Indians, friends or enemies. Number 13 of the lecture series entitled The Empire Strikes Black. And this is lecture 4 of Moors in the Moors and Indians, Friends or Enemies, entitled Was Marcus Garvey a Government Agent? Okay. And before I get started, I'm going to leave a link for anyone who is kind enough to leave a donation, and that's going to be in the chat. Leaving it right here. Now, I didn't want to carry this lecture out on Garvey for so long. At the same time, I didn't want to do an injustice to Garvey by just skimming over the information, because when it comes to Marcus Garvey, Garvey is actually a whole class in and of itself. Okay, because you got to remember, Garvey had the largest movement among our people of all the other leaders. Okay, and like I told you before, he was not the originator of the Back to Africa movement. By no means. There were a lot of people from North America, okay, who had Back to Africa movements before Marcus Garvey. He just had the largest following, okay, and that was due to his skills as an organizer, okay. So I wanted to start off by saying that it is very important for those of us who are researchers and those who are scholars and those who have platforms on social media that reach out to the masses of our people. It is very important for you to maintain academic integrity. Okay, it is very important. All right, because what I'm seeing is that there are a lot of people who are not doing that. Okay, and there are even now, let me first say that there are some people who have put out information about Garvey being an agent who I feel were sincere about putting that information out. Okay. And they may have just overlooked certain things in their research, and it was just an innocent error. However, there are those who I feel have purposefully put misinformation out. Okay, purposefully doing unscrupulous things, such as like literally lying and putting out misinformation on Garvey. Okay. And that is not good. Okay. I've seen things like circulating on social media, Facebook, and things of that nature, where people are actually photoshopping images of Garvey and saying it's Garvey, photoshopping images of people in the Garvey movement and saying these people were a part of the Garvey movement, okay, and purposefully distorting information. And you don't want to do that, okay? Again, like I said before, there, again, there are people in the Indian community who don't want to do with anything with people who call themselves Aborigines and stuff like that. And it's due to things like such as what I'm speaking about, purposefully putting out misinformation, distorting information. And then what happens is all of us get lumped into that category, you know, and people come to me all the time and say, well, y'all believe, and I have to always say, hey, no, not me, not y'all. Okay, that's not me. I don't have anything to do with that. Okay, and the same thing with other Indians. Okay, and again, I'm using that term Indian loosely. I know the legalese and stuff like that, colorable terms and things of that nature. I'm just speaking for those out in the viewership, among the viewership, who don't know the difference. Okay, I'm just speaking in layperson's terms. Okay, I'm not speaking in a court of law or anything like that. So you can't invent a history. Okay, I know that our people are aboriginal to the land, autochthonous to the land, okay, things of that nature. But there's a way to get that information across without having to invent history and distort history, you know, just to prove a point. Okay, again, like I said before, maintaining academic integrity. Okay, one thing you can say about the fierce truth seeker, the fierce truth seeker is not going to give biased information. Fierce truth seeker is not going to lie to you. Okay, I'm true to my name. Okay, and again, my name, I didn't choose this name. Okay, my name was given to me in a indigenous naming ceremony. Okay, so I have to be true to my name. Okay, so anyway, where we left off at in the last lecture, we were talking about the difference between Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, Black nationalism, and integration and the integrationist movement. Okay, and it's gonna be hard for many of you studying Garvey and Garvey philosophy, and also the mentality of the people at that time who called themselves Black nationalists, because you don't understand the little intricate details. Again, myself in my younger years, being part of a Garvey organization, I could speak more intelligently on the topic because I overstand, understand, and understand the fine details being on the inside looking out as opposed to someone on the outside looking in. Okay, so what you have to understand is the schools of thought. So take notes. So you had the school of thought of integration. Okay, and I know that there are a lot of people in the Aboriginal community who subscribe to integration, who follow the integrationist philosophy, followers of W.E.B. Du Bois and NAACP and things of that nature. However, like I told you before, I've been on different reservations, and I've run across Indians who said the problem with the blacks is that they wanted integration. That's why we couldn't really rock with them like that. Okay. All right. The real Indians are not looking for integration. Okay. Now, so you had the integrationists. Then you had the black nationalists. Okay. A little different than Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism came later. Okay. Now, when you talk about black nationalism, you talk about Garveyism, okay, you're talking about two polar opposites, okay? Especially when you talk about orthodox black nationalism. Orthodox black nationalism is uncompromising. Orthodox black nationalism is all the way the extreme, okay? Orthodox black nationalism is like, don't want anything to do with Caucasian folks. And again, if there are Caucasian people who are viewing this right now, I don't mean to offend you all. Okay? I'm just putting things in historical perspective. And I'm talking about the different ideologies that existed in the time period of Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, and NAACP. I'm talking about the different ideologies. So I'm not trying to bash Caucasian folk or anything who may be listening. Okay. So with that being said, I put that disclaimer out there. Okay. Let me explain what I'm talking about. So Orthodox black nationalism don't want anything to do with Caucasians. They want to be totally separate from Caucasians. Orthodox black nationalism is saying that I'm going to say some things that may sound offensive, but you know, the fierce truth seeker is animated. Okay. And I may imitate how people talk. This is not me speaking. I'm just regurgitating rhetoric here. Okay. So don't mind me. I am just being animated right now. This is not my words. I'm telling you what they say. So in other words, Orthodox black nationalism is like, we don't want a damn thing to do with crackers. We don't want to live among them. We don't want a damn thing to do with, we don't want to marry with y'all, integrate with y'all. Okay. We don't want our women to marry y'all with y'all. We don't want your woman. Okay, y'all stay over where y'all are at. We still stay over here where we're at. Okay, we don't want to go to the toilet with you. Let the integrationists do that. Okay, you go to the toilet and smell your own stink. Okay, we stay right over here. Okay, we don't want to go into your businesses. Okay, let the integrationists do that. We're going to create our own businesses. Orthodox Black nationalism is we do everything for self. We're not looking for a handout from Caucasian folk. We can create our own jobs. We're not going to beg you for a job. We create our own jobs. Okay, we circulate dollars within our own community. We don't need to go outside to your community and do anything with you. Okay, that is the mindset of Black nationalism. Okay, and that's why you had people like Garvey and things like that who wanted complete separation. Okay, this is now later on, you had Pan-Africanism. Realistically, Pan-Africanism is more watered down than Orthodox Black nationalism from like Carlos Cook's, from Garvey and Carlos Cook's ideology. And Carlos Cook's was even more militant than Garvey. Okay, you're talking about like militant. Okay, Garvey, you gotta remember, Garvey was about total self-sufficiency. Okay, they had their own businesses. Okay, their thing was about let's feed ourselves. Okay, don't go. Now, again, this is not me speaking. The ideology is like we're not going to them crackers and begging them to feed us. We'll feed ourselves. They had the Black Cross nurses, okay, to take care of the medical. Garvey had his own army, his own military wing, okay, the Black Legion, okay. They had an educational wing, okay, ministry, okay. In other words, Garvey, if you really want to see anyone who's bashing Garvey, I know that they haven't studied Garvey. And I always ask those people who criticize Garvey, okay, there's a lot of people criticizing Garvey, but have you read the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey? And 10 out of 10 times, the people who criticize Garvey have not read the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey. Or have you ever read Race First or any of the other books regarding Marcus Garvey, or the line of books put out by Tony Martin, okay, on Marcus Garvey? And none of them have read these books. Okay, I've read the books. So the Fierce Truth Seeker used to sell the Garvey books back in the days up in Harlem, right next to Apollo Theater. Okay, because that's where our headquarters was, right next to the Apollo Theater. Okay, we shared space with Alambe Brath right there next to Apollo Theater. Okay, and so Fierce Truth Seeker knows a whole lot about Garvey. Okay, and I sold the books, read the books many years ago. So much information in those books. I half of it I don't even remember. That's how long ago I read those books. Okay, and a lot of the information is I'm just recalling now. Okay, but so Orthodox, you're talking about Orthodox Black nationalism. You're talking about extreme militancy. Okay, I told y'all before, Garvey was kind of like the Dr. Khalid Muhammad of that day. Okay, so you have people saying, okay, well, Garvey talked bad about Negroes. Of course, yeah, the operative word there is Negroes. Okay, a word synonymous with nigger. Okay, the Negro mentality, the dead mentality. Study the etymology of Negro. Okay, the dead mentality. Okay, the people who are pushing integration at that time. who didn't want to do for self. Okay, yes, he was very critical of Negroes. Okay, just like you heard Dr. Khalid Muhammad. Okay, Dr. Khalid Muhammad was very critical of Negroes. Okay, some boot licking, butt licking, half baked, half fried, homogenized nigga. Oh, messy Jesse Jackson, another buck dancing Negro for the white man. Okay, y'all remember Khalid Muhammad? Some of y'all, I know a lot of y'all are too young, but y'all remember Dr. Khalid Muhammad on Donahue and talk shows and stuff like that. Yo, he gave people hell, man. And he was very critical of Negroes, okay? Because Dr. Khalid was very in line with the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey, okay? You're talking about extreme militancy, okay? You're talking about people who, okay, see, when you watch a lot of the documentaries, and again, this is, I hope I'm not offending any Caucasian people at the time. I'm giving you how people talk at that time. I'm just parroting what people were saying. So don't get offended, just get an education. I'm giving you schools of thought. Okay. So Dr. Khalid, very in line with Garvey's philosophy and opinions. You're talking about when you watch documentaries of what happened to our people during the times of Jim Crow and things of that nature, and you see the documentaries where dogs are being four-legged dogs are being sicked on our people by two-legged dogs, and water hoses being turned on our people, or people going in Caucasian establishments and getting violated, getting spit on and punched in the face, or an old man who's a senior citizen getting literally kicked in his ass. Okay. That stuff didn't happen to Black nationalists at that time. Okay. See, when you watch documentaries like Eyes on the Prize and, Negroes holding hands and singing, We Shall Overcome. Okay. That didn't happen to Black nationalists. That didn't happen to the Garveyites. Okay. Because the philosophy of the Black nationalists was, okay, if you put your hand on me, I'm going to put you in the grave. Okay. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Okay. You violate me, you violate our women. Okay. We're going to violate yours. Okay. And we're going to bury you. Okay. So they didn't mess with the Black nationalists at that time because the Black nationalists were not nonviolent. Okay. You guys who subscribe to integration and things of that nature, you guys were nonviolent. Okay. Not the Black nationalists at that time. Okay. Black nationalists picked up arms and be like, okay, start shooting off at the mouth. Okay, but you shoot your behind over here and you cross that line, we're going to shoot your ass. Okay. And that's why they had respect from the KKK. Okay, people say, oh, Garvey had an alliance with the Ku Klux Klan. And again, you have no historical perspective and you have not studied Marcus Garvey. They had a lot in common because the Klan said, We don't want nothing to do with no niggas. You know, we don't want the niggas marrying our women. We don't want you in our neighborhoods. And the black nationals will say, we don't want you Peckerwoods over here. We don't want your woman. Our women don't want your men. We don't, you know, we not looking to barge into your stores. We don't want you in, we don't want to be in your neighborhood. Matter of fact, we don't want you in our neighborhoods either. How about that? Okay. So they had an understanding. They'd be like, oh, okay, yeah. You know, y'all want to stay over there. We want to stay over here. That's cool. You know, the problem was the integrationists. Okay. See, when you guys are reading this stuff about Garvey and NAACP and stuff like that, okay, y'all are taking things out of context. Nobody's talking about the why. People like Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, you know, people like that met with the Klan. It wasn't that they were trying to be part of the Klan and stuff like that. No, it wasn't that. They had an understanding. Y'all don't fuck with us, we don't fuck with y'all. You know, hey, that's cool because we don't want nothing to do with your ugly ass anyway. So that's cool with us. Okay. Now the Negroes we can't speak for. Okay, we ain't got nothing to do with Negroes. We're not Negroes. Even though Garvey called this organization the Universal Negro Improvement Association, because you guys didn't want to be called anything other than Negroes at that time. Nobody could tell you anything otherwise. Okay, Garvey's organization, here's another piece of misinformation that somebody put out there. Okay, say, oh, Garvey was Christian and blah, 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 blah. Okay, again, you haven't read Garvey's works. Okay, number one, Garvey was taught by Duce Muhammad, who was a Moor. Okay. All right. And Garvey really had an affinity for Islam. Matter of fact, he said Islam was the real religion. That's what Garvey said. Okay. But he couldn't come out and, you know, just say that around a bunch of Negroes because you guys were Christian at that time. You know, and anybody coming with anything other than Christianity, you guys steeped in the church, okay, nobody's going to listen to you. Okay. Nobody's going to listen to a leader who's coming outside of the Christian religion at that time, because that's where our people's mindset was. Okay. And I also spoke about, yeah, and let me give you a reference because I know that you all are not going to believe what I'm saying. Okay, so I do have a reference for you that's going to echo and parrot. Again, the fierce truth seeker doesn't speak without receipts. Okay, and again, too, see the difference with the fierce truth seeker took Black studies in college. Okay, so I have a little better understanding of our people. Okay, I have a little better understanding of the conditions and the struggles of our people in the various time frames. Okay, so if you haven't, even though we know that a lot of that history is inaccurate in a lot of instances, but the events and occurrences and things of that nature at that time frame is what it is. Okay, there's no question about that. Okay, and plus, even before I took Black Studies courses, the fierce truth seeker already had knowledge of self, so I knew how to put all of that stuff into perspective. Okay. So anyway, I want to pick up from where we left off at. Give me 1 second. I'm going to share screen. Let me just find the documents. Give me 1 second. And we were talking about Booker T. Washington and Marcus Garvey. And I want to read from where we left off in that document that we were checking out. Give me 1 second. I'm looking for the document now. Let's see, is this it? Don't go anywhere because it's going to get really good. This is going to get really good. And as a matter of fact, while I'm looking for that, again, like I told you, there are people out there who are actually lying about Marcus Garvey. Okay. And when you do things like that, it raises the eyebrow of people who are already trying to challenge your claim of being Aboriginal. Okay. It leaves you open for criticism. Okay. Again, you don't want to create history. You don't want to create false narratives. Okay. And you have a lot of people doing that. Okay. Let me give you an example while I'm looking for this document. Let me pull this up. I'm going to pull up a picture here. Give me 1 second, because I want y'all to see what I'm talking about. Hold on, don't go anywhere. Like I say, it's gonna get good. It's gonna get good. I'm just playing with this. Let me see. Add to. Again, technology is not my thing. It's my Achilles heel. I'm trying to see right now how I can share this, how I can put this on the screen. Okay, let me see. Save as. Yeah, maybe save as. Okay, if I put it on the desktop, maybe. Let me see. Oh man. Yeah, desktop. Save. Okay, let's try that. And let me see. Let me pull this other one up. Okay, number 2. Okay, let me see. Maybe I could just leave this one like this. Let me see. Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I'll leave that like that. Let me see. Okay, give me 1 second. Don't go anywhere. Let's see. Share screen. Okay, let's see. Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to maybe do window. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Okay. Here's one. Okay, this is an image here. Now, this particular image was circulating on Facebook. Okay, and someone was saying, this is Garvey with Plecker and them, and why do people do things like that? This is obviously photoshopped. Okay, you can plainly see that this image was photoshopped, and people are believing this stuff. Okay, and you had someone who was saying that this is Garvey. Okay, and they superimposed his picture in this photo. That's not being, that's not being honest, from an academic standpoint. That's lack of academic integrity. Okay, why would someone do that? I don't understand. Okay, Fash Culture is asking, didn't Garvey have a military of somewhat? Yes. Probably came in a little bit later. I spoke about that. Garvey had, Garvey had military. He had every aspect of every aspect and component needed to run a nation. Okay, and anybody who is talking about doing anything in regard to being sovereign and independent from the establishment, things like that, it would do you a great service to study Garvey. Okay, because Garvey was a master organizer, and he understood, overstood, and understood how to run a nation. Okay, so anyway, let me stop sharing that. That's one photo. Let me pull up another one. Give me 1 second. Let's see, share screen. Let's see. Okay, no, not gonna be able to do it that way. Let me see. Let me do it another way. I'll do this one the same way as I did that one. Let's see. Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to pull up these images. Okay. Now. Oh, what the hell? What happened? Okay. All right, let me share this. Okay, this is another image that was circulating, that was photoshopped. Okay, this is another photoshopped image. Okay, and they're saying that this white man right here was part of Garvey's movement. Okay, another photoshopped image. Okay, why would they do something like that? Okay, Why would people do something like that? As a matter of fact, let me try to find. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I could find the original picture. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Don't go anywhere. Let me try to find the original. Y'all all right? Everybody all right? I hope I'm not losing anyone. Let me see here. I'm just trying to find the original pictures. Anyway, I'm not going to linger on that because I don't want to go too much over time. Let me pull up the other image. And there's another image. Because anyone who knows anything about Garvey, Garvey did not have Caucasians in his organization. Okay. So anyone telling you anything like that is a liar. Okay. Black nationalists did not allow Caucasians in their organizations. Okay. The integrationists allowed Caucasians in their organizations. And again, I'm not bashing anyone that's Caucasian. I'm just giving information about Black nationalism, you know. This is another image here. Let me share screen. Okay, now someone, let me see if y'all can see this image here. Okay, now someone said that this guy right here is a Caucasian. Okay, again, this is poor scholarship. Okay, it's poor scholarship at best. Okay, this is not a Caucasian. Okay, this individual right here is a light skinned brown person. Okay, I say brown as opposed to black because we are not black. Okay, but yet someone had accused Garvey of having a white person in the car here, and this is not a Caucasian. Okay, all you got to do is look at the hair, and you can see that it's not a Caucasian. I mean, common sense tells you that, you know. And I don't have the best of reading eyesight, and I can tell that, and I can see that. Okay, so let me stop sharing that. Okay. And again, I'm going to leave in the chat for those who are just joining in, I'm going to leave in the chat for those who are generous enough to leave a donation. Hold on, I'm gonna leave the link. It's actually in the chat already, but I'll leave it again for convenience sake, so you don't have to scroll up and look for it. And that's the link right there. Okay, so now let's pull up the document. Let me just check to see where we are with time, because I don't want to go too far. Oh, wow. It's already 46 minutes. Okay, I'm going to cap it at an hour. Okay, so let me just look for this document. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I have this in my email. I have so many emails. It's hard to keep up with all of this stuff. Let's see, is it this one? Again, don't go anywhere. I see people are leaving, but you're gonna miss the good parts. Let me see. Trying to find the document that we left off looking at. This one? Oh wait, let me see. Might be this one. Not this one. Is it this one? No. Let me see. Hold on. Again, don't go anywhere because it's gonna get real good. Okay, wait. Let's see. No, not this one either. Give me a second. What I might have to do, I might have to go back on another in a future lecture and go back to that one where we left off at, because if I don't pull this up soon, I know y'all are gonna start leaving. So, but it's a real juicy piece of information. But anyway, yeah, I'll just come back to that and move on. Let's see here. Oh wait, let me see. No, that's from yesterday. It would be like the 11th or 10th. Dang. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Anyway, I'm not gonna stress that. Let me just get right into another part. Okay, so we're talking about. Oh, I know. I can hit search. I can hit the keywords in the email. Okay. Let's see. Might be this one. Hold on. I think I got it. I think I got it. Yes. Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, I got it. I got it. Good. 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 Okay, so now let me share screen. Let me share screen. So people are criticizing Garvey for having, okay, the document is up on the screen now. People are criticizing Garvey because he had a problem with W.E.B. Du Bois. Again, W.E.B. Du Bois didn't start having some type of consciousness about himself until later in his career. Okay. That's when he started to become a little more conscious. But before then, he was a coon. Okay. W.E.B. Du Bois and the NAACP, they had a whole color cast system going on. Okay. A whole, you see, you guys who are talking about Garvey and W.E.B. Du Bois, you all are saying that the NAACP and them had a problem with Garvey because they were indigenous and all that stuff. That ideology did not exist back then in terms of a school of thought. Okay. And again, this is a total misinterpretation of the history of our people in its time frame. Again, I told you, you cannot take modern day ideologies and make them retroactive. Okay, because such a thing did not exist at that time. Okay, W.E.B. Du Bois and them had a problem with Garvey because they were brainwashed. Okay, they were into that whole light skin thing, light skin, dark skin. Okay, they felt that the lighter people were the ones who were going to get the privileges and things like that and should lead our people. Okay, W.E.B. Du Bois and them, NAACP, they said that Garvey was too black to lead our people. His lips were too big. His nose was too flat. And that old nigger mentality. Okay, so don't believe me. So I'm going to continue reading on from where I left off from the last lecture. So it says Marcus Garvey, Du Bois, and the Liberian government. For Garvey, the only path to economic independence and black pride was the redemption of Africa for the Africans. According to Garvey, the black man must organize the world over and build up for the race a mighty nation of their own in Africa. In August 1920, the Garvey movement was at its peak. In New York City, 25,000 African Americans attended a month-long convention. Black nationalism and the African homeland was the focal point. Garvey was designated the provisional president of the African Republic. He now had the mandate, but not the home base. Liberia was an economic basket case because of corruption and mismanagement since its founding. Liberia revenues were non-existent because the monies went into the pockets of the president and his cronies. Compound interest on foreign indebtedness amounted to a death sentence to Liberia's sovereignty. Garvey was aware that most of Africa was still under colonial rule. He also felt that Africans would need to be brought into the 20th century. Using Liberia as a base, Garvey proposed sending a limited amount of African Americans, 20,000 to 30,000 families at first, with skills, professions, and capital to settle Liberia. Okay, so again, what Garvey was trying to do was set up a base outside of America, unfortunately, and it was not what you guys are talking about. It was because they were trying to set up a base where they could be uninterrupted from the powers that be, okay, where they could do things, establish a base, do import, export, things of that nature, and not have to worry about all the BS that was going on here. Okay, and again, it's easy, you always have 2020 vision in hindsight. It's easy to now say, oh, well, they were running and this, that, and the other. But again, you were not around in those times to experience what was going on, the violence and oppression and things that was going on with our people here. Okay, so it says here, Liberia was the only independent republic in West Africa at the time and was experiencing a financial crisis and needed funds to pay off a national debt. Garvey realized this was an opportunity. Hold on, I lost my place. Where was I? I moved an opportunity to purchase land in Liberia. Garvey offered the money in exchange for settlement of his people in Liberia. Land was to be included in 5 areas near the Savella River, Maryland County, Sinoe, Grand Bassa, and Cap Mount. Garvey offered the Liberian government a construction loan, inaugurated in October 1920, and had raised $2 million down payment to the government of Liberia to buy land for the resettlement of a small number of skilled blacks. After 1920, several teams of his representatives visited Liberia to lay the groundwork for his plan. The UNIA agreed to provide the Liberian government with a $2 million loan. Immediately, Garvey began raising money to cancel Liberia's $5 million international debt. President C.D.B. King was already in Washington trying to get a $5 million loan from the U.S. government. King and Barclay were salivating over this opportunity of unseen funds coming into their coffers. Garvey sent an UNIA delegation of Robert Lincoln, Robert Poston, Henrietta Vinton Davis, and Milton Von Lowe of UNIA officials to complete the arrangements. In the meantime, according to a document signed May 2nd, 1924 by UNIA Representative James J. Dawson, while President, King was in Washington, D.C. negotiating for a $5 million loan. W.E.B. Du Bois of the NAACP got himself appointed as ambassador extraordinary of the United States to attend the second inaugural of Liberia of the Black President King. He goes on to say that Dubois was the guest of the other parties. What transpired then what transpired then against the interests of the universal Negro can be imagined, because on the arrival of the experts, an engineer of the UNIA in Liberia to carry out the work of preparing for the colonists, they were immediately seized by the instruction of President King and deported. The truth of the matter is, Dubois was working very closely with the U.S. State Department to destroy the UNIA in Liberia, okay, to destroy the UNIA movement in Liberia, and had taken steps to hamper the UNIA and worked to undermine Garvey's Liberian construction and resettlement plan. Because I heard somebody say the opposite, that Garvey was working to destroy them. It's not the case. The United States sent Dubois to counter Garvey's resettlement plan and to counter Garvey's resettlement plan with an offer from Firestone. Okay, so if Garvey was an agent, where's your proof? Not only that, here it's saying that Dubois was the agent sent to Liberia to destroy what Garvey was doing. Okay, you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. Okay, so it says the records of the State Department show that Dubois was designated on 26 December 1924 special representative to the president with rank of envoy extraordinary. It was believed that Dubois played a crucial role in the Liberian government's refusal to receive the UNIA delegation. Dubois made the UNIA seem like a threat to the Americo-Liberian ruling group. Okay? So that was another group that was over there. Okay? So you had the Black nationalists who were going over there. Then you had the Uncle Toms. Well, let me not disgrace Uncle Tom, because that's another story for another. I'll say the Coons, because Uncle Tom wasn't really Uncle Tom, but the Coons who were over there in Liberia. Okay, he convinced them that Garvey had a secret plan to take over the country, a plan which he did in fact hold, even though he was representing the U.S. government. Uncle Sam made him pay his own way. I was a graduate student at UCLA working for the Garvey Project on U.S. documents relating to the Marcus Garvey movement. I found documents released through the Information Act. One was a diplomatic dispatch from Great Britain addressed to the President of the United States, asking the U.S. government to intervene and prevent Garvey from gaining a foothold in Africa. They believed that he wanted to liberate Africa from colonial control, and they feared that his movement could disrupt their colonies in Africa. Okay, so if he was an agent, why would he be over there trying to disrupt colonialism? See, your narrative doesn't make sense. Okay, the British government was the other way around. It was Dubois and the NAACP and them who were working for the government. Okay, because they were integrationists. Okay, they wanted to integrate and were cool with colonialism and all of that. The British government believed this because Garvey requested land in Liberia on the borders with neighboring African countries under colonial rule. Du Bois finally convinced President King that Garvey really wanted to overthrow his government. A private assessment of Liberia by James Dawson of the UNIA was released to President King. The ruling group of the country is related by blood. When one brother is out of the presidency, a son in law takes it, or nephew or cousin, and so the group constitutes itself the reigning power of the country. Du Bois saw this as an opportunity time for Liberia to issue a public statement in the Crisis magazine and for President King to put forth his position of Garvey. The late 1921 issue of the Crisis featured President King's declaration: under no circumstance will Liberia allow her territory to be made a center of aggression or conspiracy against other sovereign states. Clearly, the black elite were jealous of his rise to power and tried to undermine his leadership. The full editorial battle would not begin until 1923, 3 years after Garvey's Liberian project fell apart. The black press, referred to by Garvey as the group of mulattoes, began their editorial attacks that seemed to center on the black man's skin color. Okay, I told y'all wouldn't believe me, so I have to produce the receipts. I told you these were coons. The NAACP, Du Bois, and them, they were coons. Caught up on that light skin and straight hair, curly hair, good hair, okay, thin lips, and things of that nature, okay? And I know a whole lot of Indians who believe like that too. This is a fact. I go to powwows all the time, and I see Indians with scary curls, hair conks, that's hair straightening, okay, and things of that nature, okay, and they believe that that makes them look more Indian, okay. Anyway, let me read that again. The black press referred to the black press referred to by Garvey as the group of mulattoes. That's what Garvey called them, because that's what a lot of them were, mulattoes and Caucasian Jews, began their editorial attacks and seemed to center on the black man's skin color. Bengal's savage and tasteless description of Garvey's physical features appeared in the March 1923 issue of The Messenger, entitled "The Madness of Marcus Garvey," described his physical features as a Jamaican Negro of unmixed stock. Unmixed stock! What brainwashness! Oh my goodness. Let me calm down. I'm bugging out. I'm not supposed to be getting so upset. I am not supposed to be getting so upset. And Firebird, you know why, if you're listening. Oh man. But that type of thing really gets me upset. That old slave mentality. Okay. It really gets under my skin. So y'all have to pardon me for the outburst. I don't know how you guys are. You guys may be okay with it. All of y'all who are okay with that old Negro mentality, that slave mentality, put your thumbs up. All of you who are not, put your thumbs down. Because I don't want to offend y'all if you are. If you guys believe in scary curling your hair, if you guys believe in light skin is better, okay, and all that kind of foolishness, if you guys believe in skin bleaching and all that, I hope I'm not offending you. I only see one thumbs down, and that's from Cobra Assassin. So I'm assuming that everybody else is okay with that. And please let me know. I don't want to continue to read this if I'm going to hurt your feelings. Okay? Because it gets very disgusting as I read on. Okay? So, anyway, I'm sorry that I'm offending some of y'all. That some of y'all to this day still believe that we should bleach our skin and that light skin is better and that good hair is straight hair and bad hair is kinky hair. But anyway, let me read on. I hope I'm not offending. Okay, Cobra Assassin says, keep reading, bro. People need to be uncomfortable. It's that time. Yeah, I agree, you know. So forgive me, y'all, who agree with this mindset. Again, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just reading the information. So, says here that Marcus Garvey was a Jamaican Negro of unmixed stock. In other words, he was too black. Squat, meaning short, stocky, fat, and sleek, with protruding jaws. In other words, he had, a full jaws like so-called black people do. And heavy jaws, small, bright, pig-like eyes, and a rather bulldog-like face. In other words, his nose was too big, his lips were too big, his skin was too black. This is what Du Bois and the NAACP believed. It had nothing to do with, again, you guys are taking all of this history out of context. It had nothing to do. I hear people saying, oh, yeah, Du Bois and them were Aborigines, and, they didn't want him to come and take the Aborigines back to Africa and this, that, and the other. Okay, again, that had nothing to do with it. Okay, because as you're gonna see later on, W.E.B. Du Bois became a Pan-Africanist. Okay, but anyway, boastful, egotistical, tyrannical, intolerant, cunning, shifty, smooth and suave, avaricious, and devoid of intellectual argument. Bignall, the field secretary of the NAACP, then called for Garvey's deportation to Jamaica. Many of the affluent African American leadership opposed Garvey and the UNIA. The black elite businessmen, and intellectuals resented Garvey in the same way Bishop Henry McNeill Turner was resented. A. Philip Randolph, the Messenger, a social journal, thought Garvey's Africa would be a reactionary dictatorship, not a democracy. Robert Abbott of the influential Chicago Defender arranged to have Garvey harassed for selling stock in Illinois without a license. Okay, the Negroes believe, got to have a license, you got to go through the Caucasians, and you can't be sovereign and this, that, and the other. You got to rely on them for everything. Garvey and them was self-sufficient. They say we can put our hands in our own destiny. So it says African American churchmen resented his establishment of an African Orthodox church, which threatened to win members from their churches. W.E.B. Du Bois, editor of the NAACP magazine, The Crisis, accused Garvey of being the worst enemy of the black race. And why is that? Okay, that's because at that time, our people were mentally messed up. Okay, and Garvey came with a liberation, what they call a liberation theology. Okay, so in other words, this thing was, if our people are in the church and they don't want to hear anything other than being in the church, then let us change the theology to a liberation theology. Okay, instead of Jesus or God being Caucasian, we're going to paint him brown. Instead of the angels being pale, we're going to paint them to look like us. Instead of them having all the demons and stuff being dark skinned, we're going to say that the white man is the devil. Okay? And hence, you can see where Elijah Muhammad got it from. Okay? So, says here, Du Bois would show his own color prejudices. Du Bois would show his own color prejudices in the February color prejudices. In the February 1923 issue of Century magazine, presented Garvey as a character in Eugene O'Neill's play, The Emperor Jones. He described him as a little fat black man, ugly, but with intelligent eyes and a big head, seated on a plank platform beside a throne, dressed in a military uniform of the grayest mid-Victorian type. Okay, so you can see the color prejudice and the color bias. Okay, these guys, the NAACP and W.E.B. Du Bois, were caught up on color. Okay, that light skin, dark skin thing. They thought that Garvey was too black. I'm using the term of the day, too black to lead our people. Too dark skinned. We need light skinned people to lead our people. That's what they believe. Amid the epilogues, plumage, and swirling capes, and in the presence of 1,000 or more applauding dark spectators. Whoa, hold on. Y'all all should be mad right now. Swirling capes, and in the presence of 1,000 or more applauding dark spectators. 1,000 or more applauding dark spectators. Dark-skinned spectators. The elite of the UNIA were duly knighted and raised to the peerage as knight commanders and dukes of the Uganda and of the Uganda and the Niger. Garvey could give as good as he could receive. In an editorial published the Negro World, by the way, I used to sell this magazine back when I was with the Garveys. We used to have copies of it when I was with the Garveyites back in the days. So all these things are familiar to me. On February 17th, he said that Du Bois was an unfortunate mulatto who bewails every day the drop. Garvey dissed him. He said the drop, the little drop of Negro blood in his veins. Garvey charged that Du Bois arrogated the privilege of condemning and criticizing other people, but held himself up as the social unapproachable and the great I am of the Negro race. He would go on to that Du Bois was a self-hating Negro. Again, people who are criticizing Marcus Garvey for being critical of Negroes, this is why, okay? Because those Negroes were brainwashed, okay? And again, this is for those, a lot of you are not familiar with how black nationalists, the black nationalist rhetoric, okay? Black nationalists come down very hard on Negroes for being brainwashed, okay? That's why he had that type of criticism, okay? So he described Du Bois as a self-hating Negro, founder of the NAACP, who preferred the company of white people, which was true, who preferred the company of white people. He goes on to characterize Du Bois as a light-skinned mulatto who hates black people and that he likes to dance with white people and dine with them and sometimes sleep with them because of his way of seeing all that is black as ugly and all that is white as beautiful. Beautiful. It's white is right. It's beautiful. It's attractive. Garvey concluded that the enemies of colonization of Africa were led by very light-skinned Negroes under the leadership of Du Bois, because the black leadership and politicians and those of the white race who wanted to discredit and imprison me to please their Negro political wards and foreign power tried to make the plan unpopular and unsuccessful. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing there because that's the main portion of that, and it's ended anyway, because the rest of it is just the conclusion and summary. Okay, let me come out of that. So I didn't mean to get so excited, and I'm not supposed to get so excited. Okay, but anyway, I just couldn't help but react. That type of thing. I don't like Negroes. Okay, and that's another thing in the Aboriginal community. You've been brainwashed to think that Negro is a good term. It is not. Sorry to burst your bubble. And anyone telling you that, you got to be suspect of that. That's some government-ish. Okay? And the prophet, Noble Drew Ali, came along and said, we are not Negro, black, colored, etc. Okay? That's why we hold him in high esteem, because he trampled on such foolishness. Okay. Anyway, I would love to go on. Should I go on? I got things to do. You know, I got a whole lot to share. I mean, I can't even get to it. Realistically, see, I didn't mean to go this long. We're over an hour. We're well over an hour. And I still haven't even gotten started yet. I haven't even gotten started yet, really, to be totally honest with you. I got a whole lot more to share. A whole lot more to share. Like I said, Garvey is a whole curriculum in and of itself. Okay. And a lot of people who are criticizing Garvey, they haven't done the slightest bit of research on Garvey. Okay. They're just looking at a couple of YouTube videos. They're just doing wiki searches, and you're not going to get it on wiki. I'm sorry. You are not going to get information on wiki on Garvey. Not anything accurate. I'm sorry to tell you that. I'm telling you from somebody who was part of a Garvey organization in my younger years. Okay, it just doesn't work that way. You have to read. My suggestion: read the Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. Read the whole body of work put out by Tony Martin. Okay, read those books if you want to. Also, talk to people. Okay, I will actually be having on the show someone who is a second generation Garveyite, third generation Garveyite, I mean, because his grandfather worked with Garvey. Okay. And this particular person actually was my Black Studies professor in college. Okay. And he's upset because somebody used a video clip of him in a video that was discrediting Garvey, and he's quite upset. But he wants to speak on the situation about Garvey. He's written several books. Okay, he's a book author, and he was also he's also he's been on documentaries, and I'll have him on the show, as well as a couple of other people who are Garveyites. Again, I'm not telling you to become a Garveyite, okay, or anything like that. We are discussing the topic of Garvey, okay? My philosophy is not going back to Africa or going to Africa, okay? But what we are doing is correcting history, and we're putting Garvey in his proper perspective, okay? That's what we're doing. We're putting Garvey in his proper perspective because, again, what you call Aboriginal school of thought did not exist back then. Okay? Does that mean we're not Aboriginal to the land? No, it doesn't. Again, our people went to sleep. Okay? That's why we have to thank people like Noble Drew Ali, who came along and woke our people up and said, hey, we are not Negro, black, colored, these things of that nature. And we were here in this land before the Caucasian came here. Okay? And he also acknowledged those of our people who did come here. Okay? To these shores. Okay? And he offered a practical program to our people. And he was also friends of Garvey. Okay. And he took what Garvey did and took it to the next level. Okay. So you can't go back now, today, and criticize people who were pioneers and things of that nature, and criticize them. You know, people, these were movements in the infancy stages, okay, of our experience. Then people study what those people did and build upon that, okay, then take it further. You see what I'm saying? Somebody says they were wondering about Garvey's nurses and the Spanish flu. Okay, that's another piece of misinformation. uh I won't have time to address that, but I did see someone talk about that. But again, a lot of this stuff is, again, people don't know history. People don't even understand the chronology of events. Okay, really don't understand the chronology of events. Okay, but I'm not gonna have time to, because again, I'm probably gonna have to do maybe 10 more lectures just on Garvey, to be totally honest with you. That's just how extensive Garvey Garvey and his organization is in terms of covering all that information, because he did a whole lot. Okay, and we have to present the information in steps so that everything will make sense to you. I don't want to lose anybody. So, yes, that is on the agenda, to talk about Garvey's nurses during the Spanish flu. Okay. And someone had put that information out there and they didn't know what they're talking about. I'm just going to say it like that. But I don't want to speak on it now because the fierce truth seeker does not like to speak without producing receipts. Okay. So when I do another lecture, I will show you the receipts on that so that there'll be no doubt and no question. Because if I just sit here and tell you, you're going to be like, okay, maybe that's true, maybe that's not, you know, and which is true, you know. So the fierce truth seeker is not going to talk. The fierce truth seeker is going to produce the evidence. Okay. But that is nonsense. Okay. About Garvey's nurses during the Spanish flu and this, that, and the other. It's nonsense. Pure nonsense. People who say all that stuff, they don't know history. They really don't. Okay. They don't understand anything about the Garvey movement, and they don't understand, and they're not following proper chronology of events. Okay. But anyway, what I want to cover before I go, man, I mean, I really don't want to go, but I got things to do. I got money to make, you know. Um, time is money and money is time, you know. And I would really like to go on, but all right, let me do this. I got a lot more to share. Let's see what I can share before I go. Give me 1 second. Let me pull something else up. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, it's just so much that I want to share. Let's see here. I want to play a video. Let's see. Don't go anywhere. I'm looking for a video. Ah, wait, no, is that it? Let me see. All right, I know how I'll do. I'll search it by name. It was one second. Don't go anywhere. Hmm. All right, let me. It's not coming by the name search. Let me just scroll down. I thought I had this. Let me see. So hard to find. It's so hard to find this stuff. Okay, let me see. Is this it? Give me a second. Don't go anywhere. Oh, I know why it's so hard for me to pull up stuff right now. We in Mercury retrograde. Y'all know what Mercury retrograde is? We are in Mercury retrograde. That's what's going on. Give me one second. Let me look on the other computer. Let me look on the other computer and see if I find it here. Okay, let's see. Drafts. Let's see. Don't go anywhere, please. All right, so I'm gonna have to do this a different way because it's not coming up. So I'm gonna have to do it this way. Let me type this in here. Okay, let me search it like this. I'm gonna have to do it this way. I want to share a video with y'all. Okay, I think it's this one here. Okay, got it. Okay, let me copy the link. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I could just leave it up. Maybe I could leave it up. Okay, yeah, I'll do it like that. Let me share screen. Window. I'll do it like this here. Okay, good. Got it. So now what I want to do, so I don't like to just talk. Okay. So, like I told you before, because there are a lot of people who are out there who are saying, well, Garvey, was an agent because he's telling our people about Africa and this, that, and the other. Okay. And again, he was doing nothing but following Booker T. Washington and many others who were before him, who were talking about back to Africa and all of this stuff. Okay. It was not something that he created. Okay. He just had the largest movement because of his organizational skills. Okay. But he studied our people here before he even came to the States. Okay. And he studied what our people were doing, what the schools of thought was. And I'm telling you all that what you call the Aboriginal history and stuff like that did not exist at that time. Okay. Not that there weren't individuals, okay, who knew that we were Aboriginal, this, that, and I'm talking about the prevailing ideologies among our people at that time was not that. Okay. And so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to share a screen and play a quick video for y'all since you all don't believe me. So I'm going to show you, okay, a couple of things. Okay, now here I want to share with you an individual during that same time. He was a contemporary of Garvey. Okay, this brother was from Puerto Rico. Okay, and they call him the father of Black history. Not that he was, but because he had the largest compilation of material of our people's history across the globe. Okay. This particular individual, his name is Arturo Schomburg. Okay. And anyone from New York who's about the Schomburg Library in Harlem. Okay. And it has the biggest collection of books on our people and the global experience of our people. Okay. So again, this is a contemporary of Garvey. Just want to play this for you.
Arturo Schomburg. On January 24th, 1874, Arturo Alfonso Schomburg was born in Santurce, Puerto Rico, to a free Black Caribbean midwife named Mary Joseph. His father was a German merchant residing in Puerto Rico, Carlos Frederico Schomburg. As a young child in school, Schomburg was having a discussion with one of his teachers, who went on to tell him that African people had no history and contributed nothing to humanity. Schomburg did not believe his teacher and was determined to find and display the history of African people to the world. He completed his formal education in San Juan, Puerto Rico at the Instituto Popular, studying commercial printing. He also studied African literature at St. Thomas College. Schomburg moved to Harlem, New York, where he became a member of the Revolutionary Committee of Puerto Rico.
Remember, this guy is a contemporary of Garvey. Okay, they were friends. All right, and he reflected a lot of the historical ideology of the time. Okay,
a committee founded by Puerto Rican exiles who united with Cubans to fight for their independence from Spanish rule. Unfortunately, the Cuban revolutionary struggle was unsuccessful and Puerto Rico became a territory of the United States. Schomburg was turning his attention to uncovering the history of Africa and its many accomplishments. In 1911, Schomburg co-founded the American Negro Society as well as renamed the El Sol del Cuba No. 38 Lodge to the Prince Hall Lodge No. 38. Afro-Puerto Rican was the term Schomburg used for himself after experiencing racism. He wanted America to know he was proud of who he was and his ancestral heritage. While studying as much of African history and culture as he could, Schomburg worked as a clerk in a law firm and as a Spanish teacher. In 1895, Schomburg married a woman named Elizabeth Hatcher. The couple produced 3 sons before her death in 1900. 2 years later, he married Elizabeth Monroe Taylor. They produced 2 sons before her death. Then he married Elizabeth Green, and they produced 3 sons. In 1906, Schomburg worked for the Bankers Trust Company before becoming supervisor of the Caribbean and Latin American mail section. In 1904, his first article was published in the Unique Advertiser, titled Is Haiti Decadent? He then published a pamphlet titled Placido, a Cuban martyr about Gabriel de la Concepcion Valdez, a Cuban independence fighter. Now
everybody, all the scholars, such as Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, all those big names did research in Schomburg's library in Harlem, right on 135th Street. Okay, everybody who is somebody has, including myself, has done research in that library. That library is very extensive. Okay, very extensive.
1914, Schomburg became a member of the American Negro Academy, serving as the last president from 1920 to 1928. The Academy was created to unite African scholars to disprove racist scholarship while promoting the vastness of African history, culture, and contributions to humanity. Enveloped within the cultural richness of the Harlem Renaissance, Schomburg was heavily influenced by other black scholars, while in turn influencing them to study and promote the history of Africa. In 1912, he was the co-editor of the Encyclopedia of the Colored Race, written by Daniel Alexander Payne Maury. In 1916, Schomburg published a bibliographical checklist of American Negro poetry. In 1925, Schomburg published the essay The Negro Digs Up His Past in the Survey Graphic magazine. The essay was powerful enough to influence the esteemed historian Dr. John Herrick Clark to seek out Schomburg and become a historian himself. The Negro Digs Up His History was also in the essay collection titled The New Negro by Allen Locke. In 1935, a librarian named Ernestine Rose, who represented the New York Public Library, purchased Schomburg's extensive collection of African historical information and artifacts for the Schomburg Collection of Negro Literature and Art, housed in the 135th Street branch of the New York Public Library. Schomburg was so impressive and influential, a whole cultural center was named after him. The Schomburg Collection of Negro Literature and Art was eventually renamed the Arthur Schomburg Center for Research of Black Culture. Schomburg was the curator of the Arthur Schomburg Center for Research of Black Culture. He also served as the curator for the Negro Collection at Fisk University's library from 1931 to 1932. He became an honorary member of the Men's Business Club, became the treasurer of Loyal Sons of Africa. He became the past master of the Prince Hall Lodge No. 38, Free and Accepted Masons, and Rising Sun Chapter No. 4.
Okay, so Garvey wasn't the only one who was talking Africa and this, that, and the other again. Why am I showing this here? Because I'm showing that if you're gonna accuse, you can't accuse Garvey of promoting some brand new ideology, okay, that did not exist, okay, because this is the consciousness of the time. This is where our people were at the time, okay, and like I told y'all in the previous videos, a lot of our people had the mindset of Africa due to the fact that they were heavily influenced by the Bible, okay, influenced by the church, okay. And let me stop sharing. Let me stop sharing this right here. See, when you do research, you have to really do your forensics, okay. The fierce truth seeker does the forensics. The fierce truth seeker is a decoder, okay. I don't do half-baked scholarship or microwave scholarship or street corner scholarship, okay. And I'm not going to lead you astray. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to create narratives or create history, okay. It's not about getting emotional about anything. It's about looking at our total experience, where we were then, where we are now, and how we got to be here, okay. You have to look at the past not through the current lens. You have to look at the past where the people were at the time. That's how you critique things in a certain era. It's just like, okay, like I worked for the school system for 16 years, right? And so, I'd be in the classroom and, I'd be with students and, we talk about like music and stuff like that, and they talk about, hip hop and things like that. And they talk about, oh yeah, they used to play that whack. They used to have that whack music back then, Grandmaster Flash and, all that, ha and all that. I'm like, okay, well, you say that now, but at the time, which I can remember the time because this contemporary with me, I grew up through all phases of hip hop. Okay, at the time, that's what was hot. Okay, Grandmaster Flash was hot. Cool Mo D was hot. Okay, Cool Mo D and the Treacherous Three. You know, uh, all those groups back in the days. And all those rappers, Busy B, and all of them. You can't use today's standards of what's hot and make it retroactive to back in those days in the golden era and before. Okay, everything is about context. Okay, the rhyme patterns back then was different. Okay, even the styles that they're using today, they wouldn't have the styles that they're using today if it wasn't for like Rakim. Rakim came along and changed the whole flow up. Okay, totally different. you know? So you can't judge what's old by what's current. You see what I'm saying? So to further prove, I really need to stop. I know we're going way over, and I know my wife is going to be mad at me for doing this so long, and I got things to do, but I do have a reference, and I got a whole lot. I might as well just break it off here because there's just too much for me to talk about. Okay, just like I said, Garvey is a whole school of thought. It's a whole curriculum in and of itself. That's just how complex his history is, and you can't microwave research everything there is about Garvey, everything there was about Garvey. Okay, but I wanna just I'll probably instead of playing another video, but trust me, it's gonna get good. I haven't even gotten started yet, but I want to read something. Okay, just to reinforce my point. Just to reinforce my point. Okay, now I'm gonna read to you because what I'm showing you now, I'm showing you the prevailing ideologies of our people at that time. Okay, like I said, can't accuse him of being an agent based on, the Aborigine this and the Aborigine that. Okay, that's current day, not yesterday. So let me, before we proceed on with the text, let me see who we have and acknowledge who we have in the chat. Okay, I see some new people in here. We have UTLS, United Through Life Struggles. I think this person was on here in the chat the last time too. Peace family says peace family, peace family. Thanks for joining. Then we have Kiskaya, Incan Ellie. Yeah, definitely. Kiskaya was here before. All right, Islam. And Fash Culture. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, those Thinking Firebird. I didn't see Firebird on the show. I didn't have time enough to I actually been trying to contact Firebird, but she's not picking up her phone these days. I guess it's because of the move. But I've been calling her. Let's see. And let's see who else we have here. Keezy for life. Says seeing black people support a man-made religion is sad. Then we have Hispaniola History Channel. Hey, peace. And we have Tamakius Tahatan Arohatak is in the chat. Peace. Shiu. And we have the Cobra Assassin. Yeah, Cobra Assassin gave the thumbs down for the brainwash stuff. Yeah, exactly. And we have, hey, what's up, cuz? Awanasa says lighter than a paper bag skin and colorism, straight nose, thin lips, and non-prominent cheekbones. Yep, that's what they believed. And Cobra Assassin, peace, Cobra Assassin says, keep reading. Yep, I know. I want to keep going. I'm going to have to cut it in low. I'm going to share another document with y'all, though. And PNF, Lord of the Crickets. We got PNF in the house. Yeah, PNF says he started listening from start to finish. He said, what I learned is how, wait, let me put it on the scene. What I learned is how quick rumors and misinformation can spread and a whole movement can change. Whole movement can begin off a lie. Excellent presentation. Thanks, Cobra Assassin. Yeah, I just like to, present the information. If I, like I said, I was part of a Garvey organization back in the days. So, I figure since people have brought up Garvey, then I can share from my experience, as opposed to, just reading books, but based on my personal experience being involved in that movement, I can be able to shed more accurate light. Because it's one thing if you're just researching, from the outside, but if you're have information from the inside, like how I was able to talk to people who were elders, and who had direct connections with Garvey, with Carlos Cooks, and things of that nature, So it's a little different then. Let's see. Yeah. And so let me share before we go. I want to share another document. I'm going to have to turn on some light here. I'll just use this here. Okay. So I want to read from a book. This book is called Black Zion. Let me put it in the screen for y'all. Black Zion. African American religious encounters with Judaism. Okay. And these were what you call Moorish Zionists. Okay. This was before the Black Hebrew Israelites. Okay. Because before they were called Black Hebrew Israelites, they were called Moorish Zionists. Okay. And this is by, put it in the screen for y'all so y'all can see. Yvonne Chiro and Nathaniel Dutch. Okay. Now these Black Zionists, to show you how far back this thing goes, they call themselves Moorish Zionists. Okay. And the Moorish Zionist temple, believe it or not, was even before the Moorish Science Temple. Okay. And the Fierce Truth Seeker used to go to the Moorish Zionist temple in Brooklyn back in the days. Okay. Because they did joint, we used to do lectures out of there when I was with the Washita. The Washita would hold lectures there in conjunction with Taj Tariq Bey and them, okay, at the Moorish Zionist temple in Brooklyn. And the rabbi informed us that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali had for sure had contact with the Moorish Zionists even before he started the Moorish Science Temple, because the Moorish Zionists go back to the 1800s. Okay. So anyway, just to show you how far back the Moorish thing goes. Okay. It's not new. So anyway, and that's what the rabbi told me. Okay. And plenty of people had come through, used to come talk to the rabbi. The rabbi was like a big wig, man. Clinton had been there. Some of the big rabbis, the big, talking about the like Hasidic rabbis had been visited there, and yeah, it's a historical place. Anyway, so I want to read this just to reinforce what I was in, because I told y'all this, but I know just me telling you this, you're not gonna just believe me telling you. So I have to give it to you in print. Okay. So I told y'all before that the information of the day, we're talking about in Garvey's time and before, we didn't have this Aboriginal ideology as talking about as a school of thought. Again, we're not talking about individuals, somebody's grandma, who, still had the information and stuff like that. Those people were far and few. A lot of those who knew, they didn't say, okay, because it was not safe to say. Okay. And you had those who, did say from time to time, okay. And, they had a lot of times limited information. It's not a whole school of thought. We're talking about a school of thought, an ideology that belongs to a movement is what I'm talking about. Okay. That Aboriginal ideology, there was no Aboriginal movement at that time. Okay. And a lot of our people, their frame of reference in terms of history was the Bible. Okay. And I'm going to read something to you in this book to prove what I'm saying, because the fierce truth seeker does not like to just talk. So I'm going to read from page 8 in this book. And it says here, the roots of African American identification with and transformation of Israelite and Jewish traditions are to be found in the central narrative of the Hebrew Bible. A lowly people is chosen by God, suffers slavery and exile, and is ultimately redeemed and returned to its promised land. This story resonated profoundly with the African slaves and their descendants who cried by the rivers of their own Babylon, America. So they equated America as Babylon, with Babylon. During centuries of oppression and exile. Okay, let me continue. Hold on one second. Give me 1 second. Let me grab. We'll have to put another battery in this flashlight. Give me 1 second. Okay. Yeah, there we go. All right. So, Babylon. Blacks have consistently offered their own liberatory exegesis of biblical traditions by emphasizing the chosenness of African Americans and the promise of redemption for their suffering. The various modes of Black identification with Judaism and Jewish texts share a critically important element. They all subvert the racist image of Blacks as a damned people, an image cultivated over the years by the white religious figures, employing scriptural justification for slavery and other forms of racist oppression. Did I not tell you the other day about how they used and I remember I showed you the video of the Moor, the elder, okay, and how they used the Bible to justify slavery and how they used the story of Ham to say that Black people, quote unquote, this is what they say, Black people were cursed to be Black because of Ham, because Ham saw his father's nakedness. Okay. And from there on, his descendants would be servant of servants, hewers, drawers of water, and hewers of wood. And they also said, slaves, obey your masters. Okay. And being that our people were so into the Bible, they believed that. They saw that in the Bible. Oh, it says slaves, obey your masters. And they use it to justify slavery and justify our condition. Okay, so this is co-signing on what I was saying and what the Moor was saying on the video I showed the other day, and how he talked about how Prophet Noble Drew Ali corrected all that stuff. And of course, we know in the scriptures it never even said, here's the kicker, it never even said Ham was cursed. It said cursed be Canaan in the scriptures. And the Prophet Noble Drew Ali came and said even that was nonsense. Okay, which we know anyway. Okay, but he let our people know that no, you were not cursed. Okay, and hold on, the battery is dying. Let me put the plug in before we get kicked off of the air. So he let us know that no, we were not cursed. Okay, and so did Garvey. Garvey did the same thing. Okay, Garvey changed the paradigm. He came with a liberation theology. Okay, so nobody's talking about that though. Talked about race pride. Okay, and how our people were beautiful. Our color was beautiful. Okay, at a time when our people were thinking that our color, we were cursed to have this color. Okay, so anyway, reading on. The various modes of Black identification with Judaism and Jewish texts share a critically important element. Let me see, did we read that already? Justification for it? Yeah, we did. Okay, in her essay, Elizabeth McAllister explores a fascinating variation of this phenomenon in which practitioners of Haitian voodoo symbolically assume the role of Jews vis-a-vis Catholics in order to subvert the latter group's religious authority. As McAllister writes, when Rara members, which is voodoo practitioners and participants in the seasonal festival of Lent, embrace the negative cultural category of the Jew, the mythology they... Hold on one second. What do you need, sweetie? Come. Quickly. You don't need me for anything? Okay. Seasonal festival of Lent. Embrace the negative cultural category of the Jew. The mythology they generate may be understood as a repressed people's subversion of the ruling order. This class resistance to Catholic hegemony is a form of theatrical positioning on the part of the peasants that says, "We are the Jews, the enemy of the French Catholic landowners." In addition to identification, whether metaphorical or literal, with biblical Israel or Jews, many African Americans have also transformed particular Jewish traditions, symbols, and rituals. Other essays in this volume consider the wide variety of these transformations. Carla Goldman examines the mental reconfiguration of Jewish symbols and architecture by African American Christians. The theme of constructing community is central to her discussion of Black congregations that have moved into former synagogues on Cincinnati's Reading Road. Goldman draws upon interviews as well as her own architectural observations of these sacred spaces. She examines how members of several congregations, Jewish and African American, have interpreted the transition from synagogue to church. The phenomenon that Golden identifies is widespread throughout the United States, but has not received significant attention from either urban historians or scholars of religion. Goldman's analysis reveals another dimension of the complexity of race and religion in contemporary America and sheds new light on one of the most important chapters in the history of Black Jewish relations, the transformation of urban Jewish neighborhoods into African American ones. Whereas the relationship of African American and Jewish congregations is the subject of Goldman's piece, Susanna Heschel examines the friendship and theological affinities of two individuals, Martin Luther King Jr. and Abraham Joshua Heschel. Although Heschel and King came from distinctly different cultural backgrounds, they shared a number of profound bonds. Susanna Heschel argues that what linked Heschel and King theologically was their reading of the Bible, particularly of the prophets, and the understanding of God they drew from their biblical readings. Writings and speeches reveal that Heschel and King were spiritually enriched by their friendship and their work in the civil rights movement. After the men marched arm in arm in Selma, Alabama, Heschel wrote in his diary that King had described the march as the greatest day in his life, while Heschel thought of having walked with Hasidic rabbis on various occasions. I felt a sense of holy in what I was doing. The structure of Black Zion mirrors the mosaic of African American religions, both contemporary and past. Many Black groups and individuals that identify on some level with Judaism also consider themselves to be Christians, Muslims, or example of the Voodooistans or Voodooistants illustrates members of African-based religions. The book is divided into blah blah blah. We don't need to read all of that. Let me see. Is there another part here that I wanted to share? Okay, I can read that. The book is divided into 3 sections, each exploring a different cluster of groups and traditions. The first section examines those African Americans who identified themselves as physical descendants of ancient Israel or members of the contemporary Jewish community. These include Black converts to Judaism, children of Jewish and African parents, early figures such as Prophet Cherry in Philadelphia and Arnold Josiah Ford of Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association, as well as currently active groups such as the Hebrew Israelites, also known as the Black Hebrew Israelites. The second section explores the relationship between African American Muslims and Judaism. 2 groups are examined: the Nation of Islam and the Nubian Islamic Hebrews, also called the Ansarul Allah community, and the more recently Holy Tabernacle Ministries, blah 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 blah. So my point in the reading of this book was to show you the fact that our people were this is evidence of what I was saying before, that our people were heavily influenced by the Bible. Okay, the Bible was a very heavy influence, and reason why many of our people identified with the whole Africa thing at that time. Okay, and yeah, FaceTime radio, peace, Shiu. Okay, and that's just what it was. Okay, there was no ideology of Aborigine per se at that time. Okay, even though yes, our people are Aboriginal, we're Aboriginal, but our people had fallen asleep at that time. Okay, so we can't blame anybody at that time who didn't know any better. It's easy to say we know better after going through all the different schools of thought and all the information that's available today. It's easier to point fingers and say, oh, they should have known better, But that's kind of disingenuous, because those people laid the foundation for you to get to where you are now. Okay. Again, like I said, people lay a foundation, other people come along, do further research, find out more information, take that movement to the next level. Somebody comes along, takes that to the next level. Okay, that's how it goes. Okay, but again, everything has to be put in proper historical perspective. Okay, and on that note, I am going to sign off. I got a whole lot more to share. I mean, there's so much to share. We may even have to go on for 10 more of these lectures. That's just what it is. It's just too much to share in an hour or two. I really did only wanted to go 30 minutes. This is ridiculous. I'm actually missing out on money right now doing this, But anyway, on that note, I'm going to sign off and say until the next time, Doda da gahan e.